What's going on, family? What's going on, ADOS family, Breaking Brown family? Let me just say, one of the things I love in the chat right now that y'all do is shout out where you from and get to know people. I always look when I'm setting up here. I always look in the chat, and I think that's a really cool thing to do, and I appreciate that. I condone it. I am here for it. Listen, one of the things that, you know, we have to get started with the usual. You gotta hit the like button. You gotta do that, because I know a lot of people come here and don't want to hit the like button. The like button is something you can do that costs you nothing. It don't cost you one dime to just hit that like button. Please hit that like button. Please share. If you want to donate to the show, patreon.com/Carnell, donatebrown.com. You can do all of those things. But, you know, hitting that like button doesn't cost you anything. Just a reminder, as usual, as we do at the beginning of every show, we take care of business. 21st of this month, March, American Slavery, American Freedom. We are going to be doing the book club. And I'm actually catching up on this book because everything has been happening. So I fell a little bit behind myself. But I'm going to get it done. So we are actually going to be the 21st. That's a Thursday. So we'll have the Monday show. We'll have the Wednesday show. And then we'll have a Thursday show, which will be the book club show. So we'll have 3 shows that week. And also, fam, do not forget. Please do not forget, the first conference is coming up October 4th and 5th. Simmons College of Kentucky. Okay, please do not forget. We are, you know, remember, I told you last show that we were running out of tickets for the actual space. So we have had to move. All of the rest of the tickets that are sold will be in the overflow. It will not be in the actual sanctuary where we are. So we ran out of those. It won't be in the church. So we ran out of the church seats. So that's where we are now. And don't think that just because if you get that we won't be there. Antonio and I will still be there and be engaging and all of that kind of thing. So just so you are aware of that as well, I want to make sure everybody knows that. Okay. So make sure that we're clear on that, and any updates will be on the ADOS conference page, that fan page. So go there. If you want to, if you think, I don't know, there might be updates or I'm gonna find it, that's where you will find it all out at. So that's where we are. That's where we are, family. That is where we are. So we got some business to take care of today. You know, we have business to take care of every day. So this isn't any different than any other day, but, oh, my people disappoint me. And let me just say, the people who are disappointing me most, there's some of you who claim to be in favor of reparations who are now passing around an article about how much it cost. You all disappoint me so bad, and I will get to that. In a moment. But first of all, we have to talk about something. And I like to frame things. So we're going to frame this conversation in a very specific way. We're going to talk about gatekeepers. We're going to talk about what gatekeepers do, who gatekeepers are, and how we can use what just happened as a lens to understand gatekeeping and to understand what we need to do with our own politics in terms of how to assess who we got to get rid of. See, we can use our own metric as a community to determine who we have to get rid of. So, I'm talking to you, OGM. Top House Dem dismisses reparations as 2020 candidates endorse the idea. Now, understand, it's not just 2020 candidates who have endorsed the idea. Nancy Pelosi also came out and endorsed the idea, right? But let's look at a little bit of what he said. Clyburn, the highest ranking African American congressman. Understand what it means when the highest ranking African American congressman is taking a dagger to the heart of reparations. Clyburn, the highest ranking African American congressman, told the newspaper he thinks pure reparations would be impossible to implement. Pure reparations would be impossible to implement. Now, I want you to understand something as I talk about this. I don't want you to just understand Clyburn and who he is. I want you to understand me and who I am. I've worked on Capitol Hill. I worked for a senator. I worked for a congressman. I worked at the DNC for a while. I worked at an outreach organization that was in charge of getting people to go vote. I have before this a career in politics. So I want you to understand that I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to you from a foundation of a career in this space. Long before YouTube. And I'm talking to you when I look at Clyburn as being a legislative aide, working on the Senate side and the House side. When I look at Clyburn, what I see is why I left. You Negroes are just moving the furniture around. You're not trying to help. You're not really trying to transform the lives of ADOS people so that we can live and thrive in this country. Why am I here? I am disillusioned with being here. I am gone. I didn't leave because anything happened to me or you can't come. I left because I saw what I saw. And I wasn't sure at that time that I saw it. You ever see something and you're not sure like how you're going to deal with it? So you see it, but you're not sure. This is how I'm dealing with it though. As a former Hill staffer, this is how I'm dealing with it. And so when I see Clyburn say that, I see exactly what he's signaling. I see exactly why he did it. I see exactly who he's working for a gatekeeper for. I see exactly what happened. But before I get to exactly what happened and what he did and why he did it, I want to do a little bit of work in helping everyone understand who he's supposed to be representing in terms of South Carolina. You're talking about this state. You're talking about a specific state and a specific district, the 6th district, and you're talking about a specific state. So it's good when we talk about that. We like to anchor things in an understanding of data. You know, the 15th largest black population. We like to anchor it so you understand what kind of state he's coming from. We need to understand Dylan Roof. We need to understand that they just took down that Confederate flag. Now understand, this is 2019. They were still flying that traitorous flag around. You have to understand who the people are in South Carolina, and you have to understand who the black people are in South Carolina and what they're dealing with. Well, you have to understand that in the context of reparations, in the context of the reparation discussion, right? That's how you have to understand it. Everything has to be understood in a very, very, very specific context. So let me just put something up for you so we can understand this better. Percentage of blacks, Hispanics, and white kids living in poverty, 2013, 14, and 13, 2012, 13, and 14. This is South Carolina. Now I want you to look at that black number really closely. That's 42%. I want you to compare it to that number on the right, that white number, that's 16%. I'm saying this to give you a context of what ADOS people in that state are living through. The state where Clyburn says, well, he just offhandedly dismisses reparations as not something that's possible. It's absolutely impossible. Pure reparations. He doesn't even tell us what pure reparations mean. I want you to understand what the people in his state are living through. And also understand one other thing. Understand this. Please understand, and please hear me when I say this. The poverty level is so dramatically low. It's like at $24,000 for like a family. Understand that there are people who go kids in that number who don't make it into that category because of how absurdly low the poverty line is. So understand that as well. Understand what you're seeing, because we have to give a context. And there was a New York Times article that gave a very good context in terms of the flag, but in terms of what people there are living through. So what I want to do, if we could just parse through that a little bit and talk about that and understand the lens that ADOS people, our people, are living through in Clyburn's district, Clyburn state, and what he did in terms of intentionally, this is not a mistake, people, intentionally gutting the idea of reparations in a way that I feel gives cover to Nancy Pelosi. And it was intentional. It was signaling, and it's intentional, and you are an errand boy, Clyburn. But let's just talk about this for a second. That flag is simply a start. This is from the article. That flag is simply a start. That's all it is, said Mr. McDaniel. the pastor of the Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church, a predominantly black congregation of about 1,300 people. He recited problems of poverty, inadequate housing, and joblessness. And here's what he said. People who are living not check to check, but hand to hand. He added, that flag coming down in Colombia, what is it going to do for them? What is it doing for them? Now understand something, and I'm going to read something while you read that about slavery in South Carolina. About half of the enslaved Africans who came to the U.S. first arrived in the port of Charleston in the Low Country. The proportion of enslaved Africans to whites could be as high as 9-1. Enslaved people comprised nearly 50% of Charleston's population before the Civil War. Today, nearly 80% of African Americans can potentially trace an ancestor who arrived to Charleston. Now, I'm going to go to a second quote from that article. The gap in the poverty rate has also remained stubborn. Now, we're talking about South Carolina. In 2013, census statistics show about 27% of South Carolina's black families were living in poverty. 20. That's almost a third. And we're talking about the poverty line, which I just said was absurdly low. About 9% of white families face similar economic troubles. 27% of black families and 9% of white families. When you see that kind of number, what have I said over and over again? When you see that kind of number, what that means is that there was a systemic and intentional failure. That's what it means. That's what it means. What you are witnessing, what we are all witnessing, is a collapse of communities, of ADOS communities around the country due to a systemic failure that can be traced all the way back to slavery and its accrued disadvantage. That's what we're looking at. And the man who represents one of those congressional districts is saying, I'm not going to do anything, or I'm not going to be a part of anything that fixes it. Understand something. There was a very easy out. Because I know most of these guys are cowards, so you're a coward. So let me give you a coward's exit. You could have just said, I support H.R. 40. The reason you didn't say that is because there was a game. I'm saying this is somebody who's on Capitol Hill. A game was being played on us. The reason you didn't say that is because Nancy Pelosi came out in favor of it. She don't have no intention of doing it, though. So what she said is this. Listen, I can't do that. Come here, Jim. Come here. Come here, you swashbuckling pirate. Come here. I'm not doing that. So I came out in favor of it so they can't say it's racist. I need you to go out there and tell the people that it ain't going to happen. I need you to go do that. And I don't need nobody else to go do it. You are the ranking member, right? You are the highest ranking member of the highest black African-American ranking member, right? So I need you to go do it. That way, if you go do it, I ain't even got to worry about none of the other CBC Negroes saying nothing. You go do it. Aaron boy, you go do it. I need you to go do it. So you run out there and tell the Negroes to get themselves together. You play gatekeeper. You tell them we're not going to do none of that. You go protect me because the only reason you are here is to protect me from accusations of racism. You don't really have no power. You do some things. Well, I got a little bit of roads done and I got blah, 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 blah. That's not nothing. That's not enough. See, we got to stop looking at stuff and be like, well, he did get an extra 4% in the That's not enough. That's not enough to make us American. The metric for what we needs to be the metric for us to be able to live a wonderful and thriving and fruitful American life. That is the metric. But let me just go on to, this is the same article. We're still on this article in case you all want to pull it up while we're having the conversation. I want to pull up a couple more quotes just to kind of bring it home. Black residents, who make up about 28% of the population, overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. And many of them believe that a bigger and more vigorous government is a key to solving problems that are hangovers from the days of segregation and slavery. hangovers from the days of segregation and slavery. Understand something. Understand one thing for me. They were very clear that we can tie this all back to segregation and slavery. Slavery and all of its accrued disadvantages. But understand one other thing, please. You have to understand that, I have a lot of people who don't, we always talk about, fam, we always talk about whether or not people can hit the curve. Can you hit the curve? Do you hit the curve? What that means is that having nuance in the way that you have the conversation, in the way that you think. Are you a rudimentary thinker? Are you a thinker who can go around curves, or do you just get stuck? When I turn right, you just keep walking and fall. I say this for one very specific reason. When we talk about what we talk about in terms of Democrats, I have some people say to me, and it's still the same, Yvette, you must be Republican or a Trump supporter because you criticize Democrats a lot. Why don't you ever criticize Trump? Well, first of all, you don't pay attention to the show because we criticized Trump's budget. We did the best breakdown of Trump's budget and how it's going to gut Black America than anybody I've seen. Right? We did a point-by-point breakdown of how Trump's politics and his budget cuts were going to gut Black America in terms of the tax refunds everybody's going to get. We covered everything. So you don't pay attention. It's not my fault that you don't pay attention. You crazy. You don't want to do the research. You don't want to go back and look at the video. You just want to talk online. That's fine. The second thing, though, when I talk about politics being in exchange, what that means is this. That means that if we give Democrats the overwhelming majority of our vote, they owe more. Like we are a specific contingent in terms of how much we get you elected. That means you owe us more because we put more in the basket for you. It's not about wanting. I've never been a Republican, never been a registered Republican, never voted Republican. That's not what I'm talking about. It's about the fact that we put all of our eggs in your basket, and we don't ever get no omelet. We don't get no fried egg. We don't get no omelet. We don't get no scramble. We don't get anything. So I criticize them more because that's where Black America, ADOS America, puts the overwhelming majority of our eggs. They deserve to be criticized more because politics is an exchange. You exchange your vote for a set of policies. That's how it's supposed to work. So let me go to this. Let me go here. Let me go here. Just so we have an understanding. After Reconstruction, white South Carolina populists like Pitchfork Ben Tillman used violence and terror to disenfranchise newly freed blacks and usher in a long period of Jim Crow. A statue of Tillman, a former governor and senator, stands on the state capitol grounds despite recent calls to remove it. Do you understand what that means? We would terrorize. Like, we honestly, our vote extends all the way back. It is not an Irish American vote, and there's nothing against those groups. It's not an Italian American vote, but we built this country. Our vote extends all the way back. Our vote should be a more prized vote just because of who we are and what we built. But there's an exchange regardless. So we have every right to tell this party that we overwhelmingly give our votes for, this is where we park. This is what we want. We have every right to write our check. And anybody online, especially an ADOS person who is talking garbage to you about how much it costs, is someone you should unfriend, unfollow, and never talk to again in this life. Because they really don't care. What we have with Clyburn is what we have with a lot of other respectability Negroes. They have good jobs, good lives. They don't care about nobody else no more but themselves. They don't really care if you eating the fat back and you eating the jelly and you eating the biscuit. You don't really care about somebody who's out here like that because you don't even see that world no more because your world exists in here. We got a lot of pork chop, fat back, collard green, biscuit eating Negroes who are very happy and very comfortable, who should have been made uncomfortable a long time ago. But you still, now I don't advocate anything, like being, but we still just, that's Congressman over there. That's Congressman over there. Girl, get him a plate. What's up, man, at the barbershop? No, this Negro right here just offhandedly said, in a state where a third of Negroes are poor and the babies are poor. Like, let me just bring this up. So we can have a better understanding. Black South Carolina. Median income. Now families, that's 30,000. Ain't no money. Families in poverty. Look at that number. 24%. I don't understand how you welcome somebody like that into your community. Like, if you're not advocating fiercely, that person should be working hard, uncomfortable all the time. Don't you come in here cheesing and smiling and grinning and talking about hot sauce to me. Ain't nobody got no time for you. And if you can't do the job, move on. Like, some of these people, I don't think we understand that some of these people have had these jobs too long. They've been doing this too long, and they're failures. You are failures. If I look around at all of my community and my people have worse health care and worse health care outcomes, and they have higher levels of poverty, you are a walking and talking failure. I don't care that you got somewhat more for this and you negotiate a little bit more for this. The metric is whether or not your people can live an American life. And you don't get to offhandedly say, well, we're not going to do this. A state grounded in poverty where people steal tour slave plantations, and you walking around saying no to reparations. You should never say no to your people. You should never say no to your people. Those people put you in office. You have a majority ADOS district. Like, let me just get to this really, really quick, because I want to see if I brought up the district information so that we can really understand where this person, hold on, let me bring this up for a second. Just a little bit about this district. I'm gonna bring it up a little. This is the 6th. This is Clyburn. And let me bring this up a little bit bigger for you. Hold on one second. Now I want you to see, these are your people. Understand, you just told all those people. There's no pure way to do it. But let's think about this, fam. Understand this. We've done it pure enough for everybody else. We've done it pure enough. Japanese Americans, we passed legislation for the Holocaust that didn't happen here. We've done it pure enough for everybody else. So y'all want us to steal tour slave plantations in South Carolina, but we can't do a pure reparation. You didn't even say what that means. I think you didn't say what it means because I don't think you know what it means. I don't think you are a particularly thoughtful person. I don't think you are a particularly thoughtful person in terms of what we need in this country. I don't think you are particularly invested in who we are. I don't think you are. You may say one thing, but I don't agree. I think you are a person who's been way too comfortable for way too long. I think that's what's happening. And see, the thing is, let me just say this. What's going to happen eventually is that, and nobody, listen, it's not, nobody's doing this because we've been given a choice. But what's going to happen eventually is something very simple. And it's going to have to happen. It's not going to have to happen because I want it to happen or anything else. But we're going to eventually have to get rid of some of these people. I mean, look at this. You still touring like these slave plantations. You can still do that. You can see all this stuff. But I can't, but my ancestors can't get the stuff, but we can't. Oh my God. But we can't get reparations. Like, this is the slavery. We got it all here. We can go see the slave plantations. But we can't get anything. We can't get our due. This is Clyburn. This is his state. This is his doing, and he shut it down. You shut your people down. We're talking about, this is your district, man. This is your district. Understand. You have to understand that the guy, we're talking about Clyburn, the congressman, with plantation you can go tour in your district and carry on, is telling his people who don't have good health care, who don't have good lives, who don't have good outcomes. We can go to the other part about in South Carolina, schools often criminalize black students. This is what South Carolina looks like. This is how your people live. And when you're asked a question about reparations, you say, well, I think it's impossible to do a pure representation. You don't even say, let's do HR 40. You say impossible. Let me tell you something, fam. If we don't learn anything, we need to learn that language is important. What you say is important and how you say it is important. You didn't say, well, we really have to pass HR 40 and be thoughtful about it and see how much it costs and how long or how many years. You said impossible. That was very intentional language for a Negro who has been a failure for a very long time. And let's just put this up as we go along here. This is Sumter County is in South Carolina and is in his district. This is in Clyburn's district. 20.6% poverty rate in Sumter. The poverty rate in Sumter, South Carolina is 20.6%. 8,085 of the 39,335 people, Sumter residents reported below poverty incomes. And you gonna tell people that the government don't owe them their due. This is the main reparation. Should have happened a long time ago. And it's not our fault it hasn't happened. And instead of supporting it, you are standing in the way. You are standing in the way. You don't deserve to speak for us. You're not an advocate. There's a difference between being an advocate and a gatekeeper. An advocate is a person who amplifies those poor people in those districts, amplify those voices. A gatekeeper protects Nancy Pelosi from the people in her district. You, sir, are a gatekeeper. And it's time for all the gatekeepers to go. If you want to fire one warning shot, let it be to all the gatekeepers. Your day is up. And if we have to, what we're going to eventually do as part of this project is we're going to do campaign boot camps and teach people how to run for office, and we're going to primary you because we don't have time for this. It's too urgent. The needs are too much. I know you've been sitting around eating collard greens and pork chops and living a real good life, but everybody else ain't living that way, and it steers all the way from slavery. And either you're going to do something that's transformational, not just kind of status quo, I got a little bit of stuff. Either you're going to do that or you're going to do nothing. We need something transformational. Add that to your vocabulary all the time. I'm not saying you don't know. Add it to your everyday vocabulary. Transformational. We got to start using that word all the time. Not know, well, he got an extra so-and-so in the budget. And the Republicans were going to cut it. And he got it kept in. It's not enough. It's not enough. People say, well, Yvette, what if that district went to, I don't care. I needed to go to somebody. It's a mostly black district, so I know it's gonna be, I doubt you're gonna get a Republican in there anyway. You don't gotta be there. We done let y'all maul and do all kind of weird stuff and enjoy life. And you've been enjoying life too much. In a wealthy country, almost all of the people in Sumter are probably likely in poverty. If you have that many below the poverty line, think about what the rest of it looks like. This man sitting around comfortable. 20% incomes below poverty, and this man sitting around comfortable talking about ain't no way to do pure reparations and don't give us no kind of explanation. See, understand what we've done by allowing these Negroes to be so comfortable. We've made them believe you don't owe us any explanation. You can just tell Negroes anything. Oh, ain't no way the pure way to do it. But see, now we know that you don't really know nothing. You just talking outside of your neck. Now we know you don't know nothing. You don't give us. See, we're data driven now. That's the whole problem. Everybody was just talking. You say, well, I guess he know. He over there in Congress. I guess he must know. I guess he probably knows something. I don't know. He don't even know nothing. He know what Nancy Pelosi tell him to know. That's what he know. And I don't trust Pelosi to know anything that's good for me. I trust her to know something that's good for Democrats. That's a very different thing. Don't nobody want to deal with this reparations thing. And they got to give all them other Democrats cover. This is about giving other Democrats cover. They have to give them cover because don't nobody really want to deal with this. So everybody's been on the phone. Gosh, you guys, they're trying to box us in with this reparations thing. Oh, I'm gonna get this Negro to run out there. He gonna run out there and say it can't happen. He gonna run back in the house. No, you ain't gonna run back in the house. We're gonna grab the house Negroes outside the house. You got to come outside. Ain't no more baking biscuits in the house. Come outside. It was when let me just understand what these outcomes mean. ACLU found that these laws have been used when you talk about these kids. When you talk about South Carolina schools often criminalize black students, understand what those outcomes look like. Understand that. And so what you realize when you say 20% are below the poverty line based on incomes, that tells you that everybody, based on the actual wealth, that all the black people that have nothing. Like nobody in Sumter has anything. Nothing. And the question that you have to ask yourself is how does a congressman who is African American, the head NIC in Congress, like in terms of leadership, how does that person offhandedly dismiss the thing that makes you go from having nothing to go from having what you are owed in terms of the debt in this country and changing the positionality? How does that person do that? That is the question that you have to ask. So we don't have anything. So what happens is we just play lotto. If you bring up this article, there's a great chart in there that shows how much is spent per person in terms of lotto. Because everybody's banking on magic. Everybody's banking on some big hit because they don't have anything. You don't find this in wealthy communities. You find this in our communities. That was a part of Charleston is in there in the district too, and you see these same kinds of outcomes. Look at this. 56% of black population has low or no access to healthy foods. Key findings of the state of racial disparities in Charleston County provided a roadmap for the 2018 Charleston Forum. 42% of black children under the age of 18 living below the poverty line, while 11% of white children are living below the poverty line. Another report. This report measured racial disparities among children. Here's what they found. This is South Carolina in general. How well kids are doing. It's an index. That yellow line, that's black kids. They're African American, doing the worst. Doing the worst. And Clyburn is saying there's no way to do reparations. Let's keep it moving though. Let's keep it going. Let's go to Charleston County's infant mortality rate. I hate this other race stuff. Just break everything down. But black or other race, look how high that is. 2012 to 13. And understand that it got higher 2013 to 15. That red line. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. And I put this, somebody said in the chat, why does Yvette think we need proof? Because you got all these people because this is what happens if you don't give people proof. What they go around and start saying is some and many. Some black people don't live like that. It's a lot of black people not living like that. You don't understand. It's a lot of people are lying to themselves. And so you have to anchor everything in data so that people can't lie to themselves. See, the thing is, we don't understand as part of the ADOS family, we're honest. We tell the truth to each other. We tell the truth about our lives, we tell the truth to each other. We don't understand there are a lot of people who are just lying to themselves and lying about other people. They see people on TV and everywhere else say, oh, well, there's a lot of black people. I don't believe that's right. No, the data cuts all that through. The data cuts all of that. So you can't lie to me. I can't lie to you. We understand what ADOS life looks like. We understand what life in the 6th Congressional District looks like. Right? That's what it means. These are the counties if you want to look them up yourself. Now I want to bring up something else really quick. Understand that we're competing against something. We have no wealth. I've talked about this before. We have no wealth transfers. We mostly inherit poverty. This is the competition, though, babe. Here's how to prepare your heirs for the $68 trillion great wealth transfer. How you gonna compete against that? I want to know. Tell me. That's what all these tax cuts meant. Baby boomers are set to pass their children a mind-boggling $68 trillion, the biggest generational wealth transfer ever. Much of that wealth is held in individual retirement accounts. Any mistakes in the transfer of funds can result in a big tax bite of that inheritance. Oh, God forbid there's a big tax bite. Oh my. By understanding the rules before acting, heirs of IRAs can plan in ways that avoid unnecessary tax and assure continued tax-deferred growth. Tax-deferred growth. Understand that these people are having conversations we're not even having. But do we understand why? Do we understand why? Understand this if you don't understand anything else. Reparations is our inheritance. It's the inheritance that we didn't get. It's everything from lost wages to being ran off your property, to Black Wall Street, to redlining, to mass incarceration. That is our inheritance, and it's owed to us by the government. Now, I can't talk to you. There's some additional people and corporations that owe money too. That's fine, but I'm talking about the main debt, and we can talk about how to do it. I'm fine with having a conversation with scholars and Darity and others about how do we make this happen. I'm totally open to that. But that is our inheritance. You are going to go into the world where you want to be going to Harvard and Yale and doing all kind of stuff, and you got to compete against these people. There's no way to compete against that kind of wealth unless the government gives you the inheritance that we're owed. This is the main debt that this country owes us. This debt is not a gift. It's the morally right thing to do to pay your debts, of course. So it's moral, but this is not a gift. This is not anything like, this is the main debt that America owes. America done paid all kind of reparations debt, but they haven't paid the main one. And I don't understand how a man with this kind of data in his community, in terms of how people are living, can walk around and say what he said. And let me tell you something else. We have to say one other thing. People often, one of the things that we have put, Antonio and I have, put the meat on the bone in terms of helping people to understand reparations and why it's necessary. But one of the things I love about Ta-Nehisi Coates is that it kind of forced people to go on the record. But see, a lot of people went on the record because they thought it was just an essay. So I can say something nice about it. It ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter in the scheme of things. But now it matters. Now your words mean something. Now we can tell whether you were lying or you were telling the truth. And now we're going to demand that you stand by your word, Clyburn, because you had some things to say about the case for reparations that makes me think that you actually understand. So either you're lying to me now or you were lying to me then. I don't know which one it is, but let's read some quotes from this article to see if we can get this whole thing figured out. Most people are asked this question and get it wrong, said Clyburn. This was in 2014, this article. Most people believe that when the former slaves were granted 40 acres and a mule, most people think they got it. They never got it. Congress, by law, in 1872, made sure they never got 40 acres and a mule. That was a part of reparations. So the country has never committed itself to righting the wrongs committed on slaves. Clyburn, did you just say that? Did you just say that this country has never committed itself to righting these wrongs committed on slaves? Did you just say that? Some, for whatever reason, and there are various sundry reasons, were unsuccessful. Most of it had to do with who their parents were. Wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. Are you saying, Clyburn, that the key to understanding whether somebody is successful is who their parents were because of generational transfers, wealth transfers, and social capital. That's what you said, that you seem not to understand today, but you said it then. I'm not figuring this out. Now, here's another quote. There are some who believe, and they're talking about, in this quote, understand they're talking about Mr. Smalls. Mr. Smalls, you can look him up. I think his name was Robert Smalls. But you can look him up, and he did a lot of stuff, and a black man amassed some wealth. And Clyburn has a specific reason for why he think that was possible. There are some people who believe he was the son of Peter McGee, the slave master, whose home he was raised in, and that is why he was granted the opportunity to go to Charleston and work on the docks. Now, the money he made was coming back to Mr. McGee, but he had some experience that allowed him to navigate the planter once he stole it. You come to the conclusion that a lot has to do with the happenstance of birth. He's saying that Mr. Smalls, Robert Smalls, made his money because, not just because he was an ex-slave or whatever, but because he was the son of the slave master, and the slave master helped him. He's tracking all that stuff back to birth, and then he comes around and says, we don't get to have reparations. It's impossible. Understand what you're looking at. You're looking at a man, you are looking at a man in terms of Clyburn, who is, I don't know how else to, you're looking at a man who really he said one thing and he's doing another. And he's doing it to give Democrats cover. He's doing it to give House Dems cover, the Democrats who are running for Congress. Understand that South Carolina, after you do Iowa, New Hampshire, that's the next big state. Understand that he's going to be a kingmaker there. The guy who told us that we don't get reparations, it's impossible, he's going to be a kingmaker and a deciding factor in who he endorses and who wins South Carolina. That gatekeeper, I think we need, from everything I see, somebody else in South Carolina. You've been there too long and you eating too good. Sometimes when you eat too good, it becomes a problem. You don't know how everybody else eating. That's a problem. You can't, it don't work that way. That's a problem. There are a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems when Pelosi supports something and you call it impossible. There are a lot of problems. You're the highest ranking Negro. Now, understand something. Understand that there's a lot Clyburn also does not understand. See, we have to understand the people that we put in power in these leadership positions. And we have to really start putting people in there who are really rigorous thinkers. And this is what he said in the article. I've always said that affirmative action was a form of reparations. I have always said that I believe that the extent to which the courts have been getting rid of affirmative action was the same reason you had the court in 1872 take away 40 acres and a mule. Understand something. Stay with me, fam. Please understand something. How can you say that affirmative action is reparations when white women get it? How can you say that affirmative action is reparation when Latinos get it? How can you say that affirmative action is reparations when every minority gets it? Reparations is specific to our group and our oppression, our contribution as slaves, and the accrued disadvantage. What you're telling me there, Clyburn, is that you are not a thinking person. You are not a rigorous thinker. And we never pressed these people to be rigorous thinkers because we were not rigorous enough in terms of how we did our politics. We have to get serious about our politics. This is not a game. This is not something where you like him. I don't care whether you like that man or not. I don't care. You have to get rigorous about what you want, what you need. As a community, what we need as a community, you have to get vigorous and serious about that. This man just saying stupid stuff, sounding real stupid. Well, I've always said you should never say nothing that's stupid in public. And then the thing is, you never even made it to where affirmative action was just for us. You could have said, listen, I think affirmative action should be reparations. And I think, first of all, it should be just for ADOS. Right? And so I want to start from there. That's still not making us whole. That still doesn't close the racial wealth gap, because the marker of whether or not this is reparations in terms of what does it close the racial wealth gap. Affirmative action won't do that. It might lessen the income gap, but it won't close the wealth gap. But I would have respected your ability to think your way out of a paper bag if you had said that. You didn't. You didn't. So what you have shown to me is that we have put somebody in place who knows how to protect white Congress people in power, but doesn't know how to advocate specifically for the group. And if you don't know how to advocate for the group, that is a problem. That's a problem that may require you be replaced, because it's retirement age. Anyway, how old is Clyburn? It might be time to go home. Go home, relax in your retirement. Let somebody who is an ADOS adherent and advocate have that seat and advocate for us as a community. Because you're not doing that. If you don't like to think a lot, and you don't like to read a lot, and you don't like to access information a lot, go home. This is what we're telling you. Go home. Go home and hug your grandbaby and rock them to sleep. But you don't get to be here anymore advocating for us. You had a good life, a real good life, and you got a pension, and go home. This ain't the place for you no more. And you know how I know that this was full of crap? Because when you look at HR 40, the 2019 version submitted by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Clyburn wasn't even on it, first of all. The second thing, I went through Sheila Jackson Lee's tweets yesterday and the day before, but I think it was yesterday when it came out. I went through all of her tweets for the past few days or whatever. And she didn't say anything about what Clyburn said, right? I went to the Congressional Black Caucus. Go to their Twitter page. Please add all these people to if you're on Twitter, and you should be, please add all these people. Follow all these people. Follow all these people. Follow the CBC. Follow all of these people. Make sure you follow all these individual members, because they say some real stupid stuff. But when I went there, I said, he just spoke out against reparations. And he spoke out against reparations in terms of Clyburn, and Sheila Jackson Lee is the one who submitted the recent HR 40 bill, and she didn't say nothing. I go to the Congressional Black Caucus Twitter page, they ain't say nothing. So what does this mean, Yvette? If you go to all these pages and all the Negroes aren't really saying much about what Clyburn said, it says to me that none of these people have been serious about reparations. HR 40 has always been a bill put in place to give them cover. So if you ask them about reparations, they say, well, the bill is over there, but they ain't going to go nowhere. They'll never go nowhere. They ain't going to go nowhere. I don't know. The bill got put out there. None of y'all are serious. And if Clyburn thought any of y'all were serious, he wouldn't have said nothing, because he wouldn't have wanted an insurrection among his people. But he know none of y'all don't care. He know none of y'all ain't out here trying to stand for ADOS. He know none of y'all ain't really thinking about how we going to stay alive, how we going to eat. We don't have no friends, and the friends that we don't have we don't even have no friends in Congress. ADOS people in Congress. Y'all should have been like, what do you mean? Explain what you mean. What do you mean by pure reparations? Give me some kind of qualifier. What are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Based on what? There are 1,000 questions that should have been asked about what he was talking about. That pure reparations is possible, but I don't like opportunity zones either. You see, pew, and he left out the room. Based on what? Everybody quiet. ADOS people out here dying and starving. Nothing. Got degrees, driving Uber and Lyft. Homeless, eviction rate sky high, incarceration, and you gonna put a damper. You gonna be the one to put the dagger in it. You gonna put the dagger in reparations of old ADOS, man. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ain't got no shame. You go on Slate well back in that little podcast, and you talk about you basically say you have to be, you understand in this country you have to be anchored in whiteness to like have success, and then you're gonna come back in here and talk about it's not possible. Based on what? You don't know anything. You don't know anything. You don't read reports. I can listen to you. I'll listen to you on hardball. You don't read. You don't think. You don't care, and you gotta go. So I'm going to take a quick break, fam. I'm going to take a quick break. It's kind of, it's so ridiculous the way these people are moving. But I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go to the phones. I just want to make this clear for the last time. No, it's so clear to me. As like I said, as a person who was on the Hill and all of that, like it's so clear to me that what Clyburn, was doing when he was giving Pelosi cover. Pelosi couldn't say what she needed to say, so that's your job, Clyburn, right? Like that's what you do now, right? You just give Pelosi cover. That's what you call leadership. That's leadership, right? So anyway, I'm gonna go to the phones and hear what you all have to say. Give me a few minutes to get that set up. Be right back. What's going on, family? We are back. 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 I am going to go to the calls and see what you all have to say. Let's remember to keep it concise as is humanly possible so that we can have a conversation. Let's just try to keep it concise because other people, the queue is always full. Other people are trying to get through. And I want to get to as many people as I can. So let's try to keep it to the point and on point. I'm going to 214. 214, what is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Sharon. I'm calling from North Carolina.
What's going on?
My first time calling. I've been following you since you were with boys, and I've been keeping up with the sporadic. But you got me tuned in. You and Tone Talk got me tuned in. I'm on high alert with ADOS. I'm so excited about the work. And I just want you to know that I'm encouraged about this pushback. I really think that we just got to get a ground game and let these gatekeepers know that we're going to bust the gate down. It's time. It's 2019, and it's bigger than politics. It's really a spiritual thing. And I just believe that you and Tone Talks have created a space. Now, keep in mind, my father is Jamaican, all right? And so I'm definitely in tune with how CARICOM already been successful with getting the first check from Britain for youth for their university over there. So the powers that be already, the time is up. This is our time. Yeah. And so we just got to get our ground game. I don't know what the ground game looks like. I don't know if it looks like the March on Washington. I don't know if it looks like organizing and primarying Clyburn. But these young people, their consciousness is raised. We just need the strategy. So we're with you. We have allies. A lot of them are not speaking. We have them. So I'm not discouraged by Clyburn or anybody like that. I'm expecting it. I'm expecting all the media people to kind of roll with that. But the media is defeated. The House Negroes are defeated. I believe that 2019 is a jubilee year. It's a spiritual thing now, and the ancestors are with us.
Okay. I appreciate you, fam. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let me just say something. We are going to discuss that a little bit more at the conference in terms of what is the next phase. Because this initial phase, and we're always going to have a political foundation. We're always going to have a political education phase. That is essential to anything that we do. But at the conference, we're going to discuss like a lot about, what happens next. What is the next phase? We're never going to really come out of the political education phase. But what do we add to this? This is the foundation. So it's like a house. Okay, what do we add to the foundation? Is it time to, you have to add bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, you have to add pipes, you have to add structure. So we're gonna talk about this structure in terms of what is the next phase and what we have to do. And so we're gonna have that conversation. We don't have a choice. And so I appreciate it, caller. I'm not discouraged either. I don't think anybody should be discouraged. I don't think you should be discouraged by anybody who is trying to discourage us. And we have people within our community who are trying to discourage us. And we have people outside the community who are trying to discourage us. I don't think that we should be discouraged by any of them. I think we should remain focused, on point, in terms of what we need, in terms of what we want. I don't care if you have to write it down. I don't care if it has to be one of your little affirmations. I do not care. Understand what you need in terms of the general where you live. Understand what we need in terms of a group, in terms of a community, a ADOS community. Understand that. If you need help, like I said, write it down. But you have to have that in your mind. Because if you don't know what you want, and you don't know what your community needs, people will tell you anything. Well, I'm going to build a playground. Well, that sounds nice. You're going to build a playground. You need health care. You need money. You need jobs. And you told this fool that he was okay to build a playground. No, not good enough. I'm going now to 601. 601, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette.
Hey, what's going on?
This is Sharon.
What's going on, Sharon?
I'm calling from Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi. What's going on?
And I just want you and Tone. Yeah, I want you and Tone to know I'm going to be there. I have my ticket.
Yay!
And also, I'm looking forward to meeting Otis because he mentioned Jackson, Mississippi about 2 Mondays ago.
Otis going to be there. He's going to be there. Otis told me he's going to be there. Yeah.
This is what I called about. I'm the family historian, and my family is from Fayette, Mississippi. So what I decided was to go on Ancestry.com and spend that little $19, and I promise you, it was the best $19 I ever spent. And it was confirmation to the things that I already knew about my family.
Okay.
And a friend of mine, she told me, she said, you know what, my ancestors are going to start talking to you. I thought, they can't tell me that. I know everybody. Sure enough, when I started researching, I started to cry based on the stuff I found. And I was able to go from my son back 8 generations to like 1794. And I started seeing stuff, because I was stuck in Mississippi. Okay. I knew my first great-grandmother and great-grandma. I was stuck in Mississippi. I couldn't get any further. When I went through this Ancestry.com, I was able to go back to Virginia. So, there I go again, crying. Virginia, I finally got out of Mississippi. And then I saw things like 1794. I knew my great-grandfather. He told me what his dad's name was, but I found his granddaddy. Okay. So I'm crying again. And so when I was getting all the information, because I'm like cutting and pasting, putting this in Word, I heard the ancestors say, Sharon, don't forget the babies. And it was like the little slave children, 1, 2, 3, 5 years old. I'm crying again. So it was like, I just started compiling everything because I wanted to get the information. And it was almost like I was getting my family, finding my relatives. And that's basically it, what I wanted to say. Oh, and one other thing. My great-grandmother was talking about her grandmother. And when I found out we were pronouncing these names wrong, and when my great-grandmother was telling me her grandmother's name was Julianne, what she was trying to say was her name is Julia Ann. And, I done wrote down Julia. So, there are a lot of things that you got to find out, the correct pronunciation of your family's name. And then you're going to find that your family's last name has been misspelled or spelled 3 or 4 different ways. So the little small community of Fayette, Mississippi is where they migrated to from Red Lick, Mississippi. So it's like 2 different families of Nichols. And I can say today, everybody in Red Lick that's a Nichols, all of you related. So, because the spelling is wrong. Yeah.
All right.
And I just want to encourage you to go do it. Go do it. Find your ancestors.
All right. Appreciate it, fam. Appreciate it. I'm going to see you. I'll see you in October.
Okay.
All right now.
Thank you.
Figure your people out. Figure out what that is. Because the thing is, like, if this drives us to do one thing, which is kind of to figure that out, once you start pulling back those layers, it is sort of heartbreaking. Like, I think we've gotten into this mode of I'm gonna make it up, and I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna invest in the crypto, and it's just like, no, go back and look. Like, when you look, like how many of us tried to do that and got it snatched. Go back and look at your people, and you will see something that will be like, it'll make you be like, yeah, there's a debt here. Yeah, you damn Skippy. There's a debt here. Absolutely, unequivocally. And I'm going to get what they were owed because they suffered. Like, we suffer. There's no doubt that we do. But, like, when you look at, if you can find pictures of your ancestors, it's horrible. I've seen some. Like, it's horrible. Like, the lives they lived, and they got overalls on, and they don't have enough muscle. It's just like, yeah, because it's malnutrition. Like, when you see that, you understand, like, yeah, I'm going to go get this money. Yeah. So I'm going to the next call. I'm going right now to 321. 321. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Lucas, and I'm actually from the States, but I'm currently living in Kuwait.
Okay.
I just want to first say that I want to thank you and Tone, but I've been following you much longer for the ardent work that you have been doing in terms of communicating our real situation in the United States economically, because I have been living in the haze of, I think African Americans are doing better, I think I'm doing better, and I kind of project it onto other people, but the truth is, I'm seeing the world around us. I'm originally from Mississippi, and I see the life there just is degrading. The quality of living, the opportunities, the trajectory of where people are going to go in life. There's no type of patriarchal system or political system that is responding to the needs of African Americans in almost every part I've seen of the U.S. And so I really want to thank you for helping me to see that in the data and to start questioning why aren't we having political systems respond to that need, especially based off the history we have. Now, 2 points that I did have in mind. Okay. First, I agree with you about Clyburn. He was providing cover for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats as a whole. But there's also been, since they have brought up the issue of ADOS topics and the issue of reparations, you've seen the entire cluster of Democratic operatives, media talking heads that are beholden to the agenda of the Democrats, that they have basically put down the issue of ADOS being bots, with Joy Reid, with Brianna Gray at the Intercept, for Bernie Sanders talking about class over race. You're just seeing so many talking heads attempting to escape any kind of attempts to hold Democrats accountable to African Americans for quality policies aimed at doing something about their concentrated poverty that was created by the United States. Now, I did have something about affirmative action. A lot of people don't talk about it this way, but affirmative action, it's not a program that the United States government operates like it's a program. It's not something the United States has a special office for that holds companies liable for making sure a certain level of African Americans get into their programs or jobs or become CEOs of companies. They don't have, companies reporting any kind of statistical information for them. So the issue, of bringing or highlighting it is that when a lot of people try to say that affirmative action is, some kind of debt being paid to African Americans or it's provided so many opportunities, well, okay, where's the data? How can I basically associate how many African Americans have benefited from some kind of affirmative action? And there's nowhere, I've never known the United States government to create a program that doesn't collect statistical information or hold any kind of program accountable, within itself.
Yeah, for it being a success or not. You can't even measure whether or not a program is successful if they don't collect any data or they have no metrics.
That is 100% correct, and that is the point. Why is Title IX enforced so heavily? Why does Title IX, have some kind of money funding around it? But affirmative action or a program such as it and when we talk about it, it's supposed to have a disproportionate impact for African Americans. We have no way of associating this. So what really happens is that we might have an individual company over here that might provide, might feel sympathetic and hire an African American and uses that exposure to say, hey, I'm being beneficent towards blacks, and basically this is progress for African Americans, when it's not actually progress, because it's not systematic. It's not an actual program that uplifts an entire group to help them basically funnel into pipelines that are going to help them grow into the regular economy and society. They've been left underneath the society based on the economic structure and political structure that America has imposed over African Americans that they have to kind of work up through. And so that's about a lot of those economic programs. I know, I hope I'm not holding you, but when we talk about, Democrats talk about LIFT with Kamala Harris, jobs guarantee with Bernie Sanders, opportunity zones, or 30-20-10, with the guys from South Carolina. Most of those programs are really aimed at protecting who when they really talk about them with interest. They're really talking about white middle class and working class Americans. They're intentionally aimed to shelter white middle class and working class Americans from the shock of a changing economy. That it's meant to help them protect their wealth. With some kind of income, they won't lose housing with the jobs guarantee. That jobs guarantee doesn't even, for Bernie saying he wants this to be of impact to African Americans and it's associated with African Americans, well, there's no guarantee that an African American is going to get a job. Or let's say that God's jobs guarantee gets rolled out in Baltimore versus getting rolled out in Appalachia. There is no way of holding, even within these class-based programs they want to, that they're going to directly deal with or challenge the lack of African Americans having steady and open pipelines to access job opportunities or access or closeness to capital. And that's a really issue with a lot of those programs that they're talking about. They're really aimed at protecting a very specific group, and we're supposed to help them get into office in order for them to enact that agenda, but yet we can't hold them accountable for anything directly for us. And also, my last point, and I think it's my most important, ADOS mentality. I think that the biggest thing I really
ADOS. No, say that again. You said ADOS mentality. I just want to clear that. I just want to say that one more time before you go on. ADOS mentality.
Correct. The biggest thing that influences people, and I just had discussions with my brother who he is left leaning, but he has conservative respectability politics type mindset. And when you hit them with the data that we're not doing so well, when you tell them what our wealth position is, when you tell them how many number of African Americans are millionaires and net worth and what we're really capable of, that the reality is we control no level of legislation. We do not control any state government. We do not control the federal government. African Americans have never been able to actually vote on one issue that we have controlled, voted on, and acted that would benefit us or anything about the society. We have been left as a group open and having to constantly be dependent upon the white majority society, and now a growing groups or other interest groups, which would be ethnic groups or political interest groups, where we never can get our actual needs met through this political system. So it's having to force us to have to think differently and coalesce around something. That ADOS mentality is, to me, I've noticed it even online. There are people if you look through their wording, their Twitter accounts or their social media accounts, a lot of people think differently, but something about an ADOS mentality where African Americans are being left behind. We need programs that actually deal with our issues where basically, we're falling apart and our issues are not being responded to directly. A lot of people are joining in on that. And I think for, some of these political parties, especially with Democrats, they're not being responsible for a reason. And I think it's because they don't want to bother some of the white middle class people that they think would be turned off by any programs aimed at actually dealing with that. And I'm not sure we really want to know why there would be such a worry by Democrats who are supposed to be progressive and so many things.
Well, let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you what it is. I think they're acquiescing to racists. Like, I think when you look throughout the history of this country, and I'm gonna let you go, Carl, because I hit a little background. When you look throughout the history of this country,
go ahead.
No, appreciate it, fam. You did ADOS mindset is great. When you look in this country, what you see is that nobody wants to make racists upset. So when you talk about, we don't want to talk about reparations because that might turn off part of the white vote. No, it'll turn off the white vote who's racist. And I don't care whether those are liberal racists. I don't care whether those are conservative right-wing racists. Right? It'll turn off people who really I want to be empathetic towards the Negroes, but I don't really want to pay for what this country did to them and how I benefit from what this country did to them. So nobody wants to see, and the thing is, we have to confront racism. Everybody thinks, oh my God, it's just Trump. Yeah, the Trump is horrible. But no, it's not just him. This country is racist. It is built on racism. It's built on anti-ADO. It's built on the back of ADOS. You got to deal with that. And that's not just about Trump. You don't just replace Trump with a Democrat and for us to be okay. I don't care. We're not even talking about the country right now. Us. You got to stop saying, well, I want to get the white working class. We don't. I hate when people say that too, the working class vote. It's just the working class vote is just a white vote. We ADOS aren't working class. What are you talking about? But you just keep sacrificing us to get the racist vote. And and I'm not even going to say the white racist vote, because it's not just white. There are people of color who are racist against us. And you keep sacrificing us just to get that vote. When I saw, I mentioned this, I did this video a year and a half, 2 years ago. But there was a Nigerian newscaster on CNN, and you can go back and find it. And you can go find the video if you don't find my video on it. It was my video on it was 2016, 2017. But she's Nigerian, she's on CNN, and she says, but this was around the time Trump called African countries shitholes or whatever. And she says, this country, you can do anything. And you can be anyone. And you can make it happen. And I thought to myself, this is anti-DOS. Because the truth of our lives in this country is that we can't do anything. And we can't make everything happen. Because there were the KKK, and there was racism, and there was redlining, and there were white mobs. And I don't think you get to say that. I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you are Nigerian or you are white ring or you're Rush Limbaugh. You don't get to tell a lie that undermines who we are and what we've been through. You should study history. You got to do that. That doesn't mean you can be anything and be anyone. That is a right-wing talking point. And what has to happen, we have to check everybody. We're not just checking you right-wingers. We already know what y'all doing, and we checking y'all. But we already know how to deal with y'all because y'all been right-winger and y'all been racist for a long time. I'm checking everybody else too. This is right-wing stuff when you get on CNN as a black woman and say you can do anything because you can be anything. The world is your oyster. You don't understand how disrespectful it is that you don't understand the people. You don't understand the people who paved the way for you to be here and say that. And then there's two Nigerians at CNN. Both of them, one of them has, what's the child's name? 12 years a slave as her brother. And it's like, y'all are minority in this country. Like, I don't understand, like, why no more ADOS? Like, why no more carve-outs for us as a specific group? These are things I need to understand. But you don't get to tell a lie about what America is. Nobody gets to tell a lie about what America is. You don't get to preach to me. You don't get to tell me anything. So that's just I just have to say that. I'm going to 251. 251, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing? My name is Roy Chandler. I'm from Mobile, Alabama.
Okay, what's going on?
I have, like, all the problems in the world when it comes to finding jobs and being able to work and do what I need to do for myself. You know, it's like all the people around me, the white people, the Asians in this area, they all have a lot of ways to jump into areas where I don't have no way in there. But it's because of old wealth. Like, that's a thing that's in the South. You have a lot of old wealth. Or old money, as we call it.
Okay.
They get to get into areas where I can't even touch. And I'm a person that likes to work on the state docks and stuff like that. And when it comes to me working, it's like everybody that's like me or ADOS, we all get into those areas, but we can't move no further because we have a person that's like a overseer over us that stops us from moving. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You have a lot of that.
Okay.
There's a lot of overseers here and there, and then every now and then you have that one black ADOS supervisor that's the gatekeeper in that stops you from moving.
That's Clyburn.
Oh, yeah, he gets to go into those meetings and be like, nah, that you can't move nowhere. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm 25, and I'm just getting on the state docks. My great granddad was on the state docks and retired from the state docks at the age of, like, I think 60 or something. But I don't see myself being able to actually have a good career in it because of the old wealth that's stopping me from doing what I need to do. And watching you, I understand the data now of why I'm in that situation.
Exactly. Once you understand that you want to do something about it, don't you? Once you understand that, like, this ain't me, this is the setup.
I've been wanting to do something about it for a long time, but once I understand it, now I know what I need to do about it.
There you go.
How to go about doing the stuff about it. I haven't known how to do anything about it until my mom put me on it.
All right, fam. I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you, fam. Yeah. You at least you know. Like, at least what happens now is at least you know what to do. You know how to move. We've been living in this thing like we don't see each other as a tribe. We're trying to do little weird stuff. No, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. It does not work that way. I'm going to 310. 310, what's going on?
What up, this Tone? Good show. You know, Clyburn, it's interesting that he made this statement about impossibility with no expertise. it's so highly problematic to have somebody who's supposed to represent the interests of black folks, especially poor black folks, say that. And we got to understand, like Yvette said, that 20% of South Carolina black residents are below the poverty line based on income. And I just want to go back and make sure y'all understand that if we use wealth, income is what you make, wealth is what you actually have in accounts and assets. If we use wealth, I bet you like 80-90% of the black population in that district is poor. Largely because of slavery. The last caller, a lot of us live in big cities. I don't care if it's Chicago, Los Angeles, even Atlanta. The last caller is speaking to something. We're aggregated in the South. And in the South, until you go down there in the South, you don't understand what the South is. And I don't know if you have that picture from the email I sent you. In Clyburn's district, in South Carolina, today, you can go tour slave houses. White people walking through slave houses. I don't know if we really understand, one, the awfulness, because I know we all live in our lenses. This is not Maxine Waters. This is not Barbara Lee or Sheila Jackson. This is not any of those people saying that they don't understand slavery. This is Clyburn, who has this in her district. Slave shacks are in his district. What is the consequence of us allowing this man who has that in his district speaking for us nationally? I'm just telling you, I don't think he can. It's a whole different culture when you got touring of slave plantations in your state today. See, I don't know if we understand that this man got to be quieted down, not just because of what he said, because of what he represents. He represents a status quo that thinks that this all is okay as it is. He represents a state that still has these things where people can walk in and tour like this is a celebration. This don't feel right to me the way they got these little shacks. I think what's interesting about this moment is kind of captured inside of what I saw from Marianne Williamson in my interview, and that's the presidential candidate, says about reparations, and what I see from Rothstein. Everybody expects us to care about white feelings. Your boy Clyburn is too caring about white feelings. Black people are living under foot to neck in this country. And largely the reason why we can't see it is because we have a fascination with the word some. Recently in the last week, we saw me and Yvette and Ida Bay Wells, whatever her name is on Twitter, I don't know, went back and forth with a writer from The Intercept who was talking about class. She kept talking about rich blacks. I had to slow her down and explain there are not rich blacks in America. When your race is 20 million strong and built the wealthiest country in the world, and you only have 340,000 families that are above $1.2 million with hard assets, meaning you can have a rental property and a home and $80,000 in the bank and be in that small group in Los Angeles. When you have that is the best families in your race, almost entirely boomers. When you realize that almost half of that group might be immigrants, which really guts the whole reality of that being 340,000 ADOS. What you realize is that we don't have a wealth class. But then we use some to say, just Oprah. Some black people have money because Oprah does. We got to understand that the reason why anchoring this in data is so important is because data tells us that we are just shut out of America. On my show this week, I'm going to be hashing out how Dr. King's message about coming to get his check in white farmers connects into a servant class that America has created today that will largely consume black America if we don't get reparations in the black agenda. I just wanted to call because Clyburn makes no sense. He has no grounding in data. He does not understand what's going on. What he's trying to tell us is that reparations is impossible. What he doesn't understand is that we've already started to repair the soul of Black America with ADOS. So we coming, Clyburn. There's nothing you can do about it. All right.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I think, you know, the thing is we are coming. Like, I don't know if people understand that. We are coming. Like, there's no doubt that we're coming. Like, look at the whole reparations conversation that we're having now is because of ADOS. We are coming. You can keep playing this game that you think you're going to win if you want to. And we will do our boot camps and train people to, you know, like, you know, we always talk about the money needed for elections. And that's true. And that's a problem. But we'll get people out to go and collect, to go from district to district, to go from house to house to tell them, like, this man ain't serving you. Like, you don't understand really what you're up against in terms of, if we go into your district as the ADOS brigade and start really talking to people and talking about that their life ain't supposed to look like that. Your life ain't supposed to be this life. And we're going to create a new life for you through legislation for you by kicking this dude out. You don't know that you don't have no job. You just got to be home with your little grandkids with your pension. You don't got no job after that. Like, you don't understand that there's a groundswell against you. And the thing that you have to do is get yourself in check now. Because it just is what it is. We're here. I don't know if people understand that we're here. And we're national. It's not no one thing or whatever. We're everywhere now. There's no state that doesn't have ADOS adherence. So, like, you need to figure out how you're going to deal with that. And we're going to figure out how we're going to deal with you. I'm going to 843. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's going on?
What's good, Yvette? It's Israel from Louisville, Kentucky. How are you?
Pretty good, Israel. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. So just for a full disclosure, I was actually born and raised in Colleton County.
Okay.
And that's in the middle of the 6th district. So I'm pretty familiar with how Clyburn works around the state. So two things I wanted to point out.
Okay.
You know, I know everybody knows the story about the Union defeated the Confederacy, but if you travel through the state and look at the communities, you look at the data that you showed, the Confederacy won. I mean, there's still Confederate flags flying.
That's what I said. I've been saying that.
All the big Democratic names, Wade Hampton, Ben Tillman, John Calhoun, they have buildings, streets, statues, museums named after them. And as soon as Lincoln was assassinated, the Klan had its way. South Carolina never even had Reconstruction. They did whatever they wanted to do. And I graduated from Clemson University that was founded by Calhoun and Tillman. And it was built by convict leasing. So it's just ignorant for Clyburn to know this history and just act like he doesn't know what's going on. But the code in South Carolina is to preserve the values of the Confederacy. Even though they lost the war, that's the code to get power in South Carolina. And that's how Clyburn works in the state. He knows that if he does anything outside of the status quo, he's not going to keep that power. So the second point I had, a lot of people may not know, but George Murray, he was a prominent congressman in the late 1800s. And he's actually a distant relative of Clyburn. He was the last Republican elected to Congress from the state of South Carolina for 100 years up until 1980, because the Democrats put in black codes into the state constitution that took all rights away from ADOS. You couldn't vote unless you owned lots of property. You couldn't serve on juries. You couldn't run for office. We were essentially taken off the table. It was like the Civil War never happened. So it's just funny you mentioned from that article that he said that affirmative action was a form of reparations. And for him it actually is, because the 6th district, it became a minority majority district in 1993, because even when the Voting Rights Act in 1965 was enacted in South Carolina just pretended like it never existed.
Really?
So the Supreme Court came in in 93 and said, hey, you have to turn the 6th district into a minority majority district. And since 93, who's been the only person to hold that seat?
Talk
Jim
to us.
Clyburn.
Talk to us.
He's held it. He's been the only person to hold that seat. So essentially, he's hoarding all of the fruit from that small win from the Supreme Court, and he's been able to use the power from that seat, not share it with his constituents, but use it for himself to get the favors and the butter biscuits and use them for himself and his family. And then the last thing, his daughter was elected to the FCC by President Obama. So just another, in 2009 or 2010, I forgot which year, but just another example of these gatekeepers come in, they take all of the fruit that should be shared among all
they hook up their family. They hook up their family and their friends or whatever, but they don't hook up their community. Like, nobody's willing, understand when people always like to talk about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, understand that they sacrificed their lives. Understand that, that's what they sacrificed. I don't know how you are in this position and that's not what you're willing to sacrifice. You don't get to just go drink sweet tea and lemonade when you're trying to represent an oppressed group. When you're trying to represent a group that is on the bottom heel of the rest of America. You don't get to drink lemonade. That's what you do if you're with that other group. I've been on the hill. I see y'all in the cafeteria, in the congressional dining area eating. I'm not one who don't. I've seen that. Y'all living good. You living too good to represent this oppressed group. That's not how you're supposed to be living. I'm going to let you finish, Carl.
Well, no, that's all I had to say. And, I'm not sure if he's just that stupid or he's that old and it's time for you to go.
I think he's old and stupid. I think he's old and he's stupid. I think he's both of them.
In these districts, for example, the 6th district is 57% black. When we have the majority in these districts, we have to get these people out. We have to spread the data. We have to organize. We have to talk with our fellow constituents, and we got to hold their feet to the fire. He's held that seat since '93, and the 6th district has gotten nothing out of it instead of some museums and some tours through old slave quarters. But other than that, nothing. So that's all I had to say. Keep up the great work, and
appreciate it, fam.
I'm looking forward to the other callers.
Appreciate it. I thank you for calling in. That's some history. I love people who call in and bring the history to it. Woo-wee, yeah, we gotta bring it. You got 50 plus 1 means we can take you out. If your district is 50% black, your days are gonna be numbered because we can take you out because you ain't doing nothing. Y'all ain't doing nothing but sitting up there eating pork chops. We can take you out. You can't out-argue us. You can't out-data us. So you better just, if you see, we're coming. So if you see us coming, you might want to get yourself right now. And get all of your stuff in line and change what you're doing. If not, we'll just come. 757-757, what's going on?
Yvette.
Otis, what's up?
Well, you know what? I know you're moving on up when a caller makes me have to ball up my cheat sheet, and we're gonna give you some background. And this dude and called in. This family's growing strong and doing the necessary work.
Doing that work.
Doing the necessary work. I was trying to give you some background on Clyburn. And homeboy was down there. I'm saying, is he reading my paper? You know I like to bring a little added stuff for the butter biscuits for them dudes. Look, we also got to look at something else. Somebody else put it up earlier today. Clyburn been getting his just dues. He ain't like the white folks that built their buildings with convict leasing. He did it with hijacking the whole 6th district. You know, the pharmaceutical companies, they loved him so much. Not only did they donate to his campaign, back in 2011 when they did a big complex down there in Charleston, housing 78 labs and facilities, they named it after him. So he get his name. Oh yeah, bro, homeboy moving on up. The district ain't getting nothing, but he is. And look, I want to sway a little bit because I cannot leave here without saying 3 or 4 times I called in and talked about trolling Martin. CNN got a little upset after the people down there in Selma
got together and put their heads together. Remember I told you the alphabet soup people were down in Selma? Seems they tried to strong arm CNN and push them about how many black people they got in management. And CNN stopped them brothers at the door and told them as long as Trolley Martin is in your group, nobody gets an audience at the table. So it seems like somebody else is pushing the gatekeepers out.
But you know what, Ron? You know what, Otis? You know what was interesting about that whole thing? Because I went and watched the clip. They said they called Roland reckless. And they said that he can't be in there. And the thing that was striking to me, if you tell me, if I've done some awful stuff, right? I try not to engage in that way. But if I've done something awful, like hand the questions to Donna Brazile so she can hand them to Hillary so that I can tip the scales. And then if CNN says to me, we're not going to work with these people to get black people in CNN, if you're there, my inclination, Otis, is to walk away. Because I want what's best for my people. It was something to me that Roland wouldn't leave that alone. Like, you are such a narcissist.
That is exactly why I'm bringing it up, because here's something else about our people. These people in the chat have to understand. When you're entering stuff in here, I'm going to try to make it plain to you as an old guy, the old curmudgeon. What you're putting in that chat is a digital record about the early stages of the fight for reparations to be fulfilled in this nation. So you can keep putting the stupid stuff in there so your grandkids figure out that you really want on topic. But I suggest you start doing some things, and I'm going to use the rest of my time to say this. Yvette just rolled out a lot of stuff on Clyburn. As a group, hitting over 60,000 people now. For the next 2 days, it shouldn't be a lot of silly on Twitter. What it should be is you find out what his Twitter handle is, and you send him screenshots of this very show and ask him how could he stay there since 1993 and his people have not prospered. Put it in his face. Same thing with Sheila Jackson Lee. I'm going to say this too, because Yvette touched on it. If you look at that first couple of clips you put up about Clyburn, Clyburn said something interesting when he used the word pure reparations. But he did hit on something that we touched on this show. The way they are framed now, opportunity zones are not good for black people. We've talked about that. The ceilings and criteria to participate in opportunity zones is all set for rich white people. Now, here's what I'm going to ask you. If you were the minority whip at that time when these were framed and they pushed it through, how come you didn't change it so opportunity zones would be good for our people? See, that tells you what his job is. I keep telling you, when you let them talk, they usually tell on themselves. He has the nerve to say pure reparations. I think I sent a tweet out telling people, see, if you're a real journalist, the first thing I would ask you to do is please explain to me what pure reparations are. Because I know this for a fact. Since 1952, when they first started negotiating for reparations for Jews of the Holocaust in Germany, I know just 3 or 4 years ago, the first black president sent another $12 million of U.S. dollars to continue payment on that reparations that started in 1952. Now, that's easy math for me because I was born in 53. So that means some 60 years later, our president spent more of our taxpayers' money to settle a debt that started being computed in 1952. When you get dumbasses like Clyburn that tell you you can't have pure reparation, they are getting more than just butter biscuits. I'm going to leave it there because I got so much more I'd like to talk to you about. But look, I'm still looking forward to watching that wig get snatched. It's going to the national stage. Get it for me, bring it on home. I'll fly on down and get it for target practice.
All right, Otis. I appreciate you. As always, Otis out here snatching wigs. Listen, this is what you need to do. At like Twitter. We're talking Twitter now. At WHIP, WHIP, Clyburn, CLYBURN. At WHIP Clyburn. You need to tweet him. Ask him some of the questions what does pure reparations mean? What have you studied to understand that it's not possible? What are you doing to the people in your district who do not have money, who are below this poverty rate? We have the charts. You can screenshot them. You need to ask him these questions. You need to fill up his Twitter. That man don't need to be comfortable. He don't need to be living no good life with the people living how they living. And with regard with what Otis said about Roland, listen. If Roland had got fired if Roland was in trouble with CNN and they wouldn't let him come to the National Association of Black Journalists meeting because he was standing up for black people and they fired him, I would be standing with Roland. But Roland, you lack integrity. You lack ethics. You lack journalistic ethics from sharing that stuff to Donna Brazile that you shouldn't have shared. Understand if you all want to go back. There was a man who had been in prison who was asking a question to Hillary Clinton. Roland Martin allegedly shared that to Donna Brazile and gave Hillary Clinton the question ahead of time. Had that not happened, that Hillary Clinton would have had to ask that question, without knowing what it was and give us her view right then and there, like in her mind. But apparently, allegedly, Roland gave that question to to Donna Brazile, who gave it to Hillary, so she already knew. She was already polished. I needed her to answer that question cold. So if Roland had done something for ADOS people, and I would say, you know what? He need to be in the room. That man's a freedom fighter, but that ain't who Roly Poly is. That is not who Roly Poly is. You've done something totally different, totally selfish, totally with you and your friends and you and your clique, and that's not what it is. And you should just say, I'm not going to be in the room. You don't get to say, well, ain't nobody going to, I'm not going to be in the room. Ain't nobody going to be in the room. If I had done something wrong or I had done something reckless to damage the group, I would be like, okay, I can't be in the room. They want y'all in the room. Understand when you're dealing with people who are impeding progress because of their own narcissism. So I'm going to, this may be the last call. I'm going to 240. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing today, Yvette? This is Roz from
What's
the
going on,
DMV.
Roz?
How's
How you
everybody
been?
doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yes, I'm so glad you got me in. I appreciate you, love you. I got to hit this real quick. Not only is Jim Clyburn giving cover for Nancy Pelosi, he's giving major cover for Bernie Sanders. If you notice, he's been talking about that 10-20-30 formula to fight persistent poverty. Every time Bernie has been asked that question about reparations, he's referring to Clyburn, and he's referring to Jim Clyburn, the whip, because he's black, and he's coming up with this. Let me read y'all this first paragraph. Okay, it's not going to take long. In the United States, this is on clyburn.house.gov. It's the 10-20-30 formula to fight persistent poverty. Okay. In the United States, there are 485 counties where 20% or more of the population has been living below the poverty line for the last 30 years. These counties mired in persistent poverty are as diverse, that word diverse, as our great nation. He has a semicolon. Appalachian communities in Kentucky and North Carolina, Native American communities in South Dakota and Alaska, Latino communities in Arizona and New Mexico, and African American communities in Mississippi and South Carolina. They lack access to quality schools, affordable quality health care, and adequate job opportunities. Notice how he put African American last, and I want to hit you, Appalachian. Now, how in the world are you talking about people that are descendants of slavers in Appalachia? He's listing them first. How is that beneficial to us? I want to know if Bernie Sanders, when he signed on for the Jewish reparation a couple years ago, if he had anything about ADOS in there. Was there anything for us in there? Anytime they start introducing other groups to our benefits, it's problematic. If it's not ADOS and they start throwing in minorities, diversity, it's
people of
color, because that means we're not even gonna get the crumbs out of the plate. Do you hear what I'm saying? We're not going to get the crumbs from the plate. And this is Jim Clyburn that Another thing I wanted to let you all know, because I try to get in, but we've been pretty busy with this. Now, I have a family member that had just gotten back from Missouri, has friends. Now, we're talking about, every time somebody says, well, what about the Native Americans? And we're talking about that. He had mentioned that the Native Americans is families that are living in the same household that are receiving anywhere between $12,000 to $15,000 a month.
From what?
That's what reparations looks like for Native American reparations. Okay? We don't understand these numbers. Now, you're talking about in one house, and I say not one household, but that's just like a mother and daughter. The daughter's getting $12,000 a month being a Native American. We're talking $144,000 a year doing nothing. And that's not the household income. That's one person just by being a Native American. And then I hear black people, we're sitting up here, ADOS, saying, just take away my taxes. We need to really be mired in the data. And I'm sitting up there hitting them with all of this information, saying you're not asking for enough. You're asking for a sliver of pie to feed an entire army.
A tax cut doesn't close the racial wealth gap. You're looking to close that joint. That means you get wealth. That doesn't mean you get a tax cut. And you don't get a tax cut if you don't have to pay taxes because you earn too little, because you earn nothing. That doesn't work.
And I'm sitting here like, you guys have families, you have children. I'm fighting to make sure those babies right there are not having to go through the madness that we have to go through now. You have to be rooted in the data. You have to read what the myths that we don't understand about the racial wealth gap. Well, you have to read it. I'm sending it to people. It's a PDF file. Make sure you copy the link. You send it. The Case for Reparation by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Make sure you're sending all of this to friends and family members so they better understand. Because a lot of people are saying a lot of foolishness. We can do it ourselves. I said we own 0.5% of the nation's gross national product. If we own so little, how are you going to compete with people that own the wealth that they own? How are you going to compete? Well, we could compete. We could do it. I said, you could be out, take that energy you have, all that energy, take it out and become a cheerleader. But we don't need that for reality.
Become a cheerleader, fam.
We don't need cheerleaders. Oh my God! I said, look, anybody knows me know that I have a hell of an ego. So I don't need you cheerleading for me when I'm facing the reality of what's happening to our people, ADOS people, right here and now. I'm going to be seeing you over in Kentucky at the conference.
All right.
Because I got my ticket to ride. Let's make that happen. But yes, let's jump on Clyburn. And matter of fact, I want to tell you real quick.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, I had dinner over at the DNC restaurant. The Democratic Party has a restaurant in D.C., so does Republican. And these people are walking in, and they're sitting down. It was a pretty small dinner party, about 5 of us. And Jim Clyburn is walking in like he is Will Smith. These guys are thinking that they're huge celebrity. And I was like, who are you? Okay, well, I'm the Democratic. Okay, and so what are you doing for your people? Because I've been to South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, and it's unfortunate, like the brother that had called in earlier was saying, it's like 1965 never happened. It's like the Civil War never gave free to black people. Black people were outside in the hottest part of the factory, working on the product, building it, and all the white people were inside in the air conditioning rooms. It amazed me so much. I know I had a very nasty attitude the whole time I was in South Carolina, but I was just, get me the hell out of here. Get me the hell out of here, because it's the negativity is so palpable, and a lot of these people like Clyburn, he's just eating the fruit for himself and his family, and he needs to be thrown the hell up out of there. Come on, South Carolina people, let's get him out of office.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I think we have to, and that's going to be the last call for the night. We're heading towards the 2 hour mark. Listen, I think that's what kind of has to happen. I think we all have to get very comfortable with, like, this is going to be a road. This is going to be something that we're going to have to do, and it's not going to be necessarily pretty, but it's going to be necessary. And people are going to say, well, this person is a high-ranking whatever, on this committee or whatever. And we have to ask ourselves, though, but what did this person do? How did they position themselves to, like, transform the community into a community that a community that, you know, could access Americanness in the American way? Like, what did you do to transform your? I don't care. Like, well, he was on the House and Ways and Means. I know what the House Ways and Means is. Like I said, I used to work on Capitol. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. That's not the issue. The issue is, how have you transformed the community that you live in, work for, represent? And we're going to have to make, going forward, some very difficult, very difficult choices. And it is what it is. But I think from what I'm seeing, a lot of these people are not representing their community. They're representing gatekeepers. And people who are representing gatekeepers have to go. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not our fault. We gave them more than enough time to show us. And you came out and said reparations was impossible. So then you have to go. You didn't come out with the study. You didn't come out, said, I'm going to talk to Darity or anybody else. You didn't come out with that. You just came out and said it's impossible. And so when you expose yourself as being that reckless and ignorant, what happens is, like, we have to make a decision about where you should be. And I think you should be in retirement. And so please, at Whip Clyburn, please tweet him. Please blow that up and ask him a lot of the questions that we asked. By what right? And send him some of the data about his own community. Because what's happened is, these people think we aren't listening and we aren't paying attention. And I think if you're around, if you have time, call. I mean, because they think we don't know what's happening, and they don't know that, like, ADOS, we are a sleeping giant, and somebody just shook us and woke us up. So we're here now, and we're not playing these games. We're not dealing with this. We're not living like this no more in the country that we built, where we've been oppressed for over 4 years. We're not doing that no more. So we are coming, and the question becomes, when we get there, are you going to be with us, or are you going to be one of the ones we got to take out the way? That is the issue. So, fam, until next time, I will see you. Please take care of yourself. Finish your libation and get ready to go do whatever you got to do. Get some rest. Get in bed early. And we will talk next time. As always, like I said, the book club is March 21st. We'll have that. And do not forget about the conference in October if you have not gotten your tickets, fam. I will talk to you next time.